What's up, everybody? Big Hurt 916. You know how we do it over here, getting down with another episode on Fresh Out with my special guest. You guys have seen them before, Cody and Aren from Stranger by the Hour. These guys, they got a hell of a story, their background in general, but they always have good commentary on what's going on with the status of our country and the news at hand. So let's get right into it, man. I mean, a lot has happened over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about, like, for, you haven't been in the military and been a sniper, man. What do you think about the whole Charlie Kirk thing and the multiple shooters, bro? I mean, to me, this is like a replay of fucking Kennedy, man.
Exactly. And, you don't even need to be any kind of ballistics expert or a sniper to kind of have a grasp of the obvious, and anybody that's ever even manipulated a hunting rifle like that, like a Mauser type rifle like that, to buy. Let's just look at the story that we're the current, like, official narrative that we're intended to believe is that this kid, radicalized on the internet in some way, relationship was, they have to sprinkle in all this culture war stuff constantly. It's layered. So okay, here we go. There's a trans controversy. Maybe he was radicalized on the internet. Maybe he was a groiper. Maybe, who knows? But in any case, he gets a hold of his grandfather's Mauser, makes his way. So, infiltrates the area with the rifle disassembled and either down his pant leg or in some sort of backpack. Nobody's sure. So he has a disassembled rifle, infiltrates the area, makes his way up onto a roof. Charlie Kirk, Israeli security detail and stuff. Somehow they miss, yet again, they miss another rooftop position, another prime. What are you even doing if you miss stuff like that? But okay. So anyways, kid gets on the roof, shoots Charlie Kirk in the neck with a 30.6, right? And the medical team and Charlie Kirk spokesman, people have caught this, were saying things like, in any other person, there would have been an exit wound. But because Charlie Kirk was so strong, so they say this stuff, so robust, like basically a man of steel, it was a miracle that the round then went down into his chest or wherever they say it went. So let's put that aside for a second. Back to the roof.
I heard it stopped against the vertebrae.
Stopped, yeah, which is insane. It's not possible to believe that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's absurd.
But so the kid takes his shot, and then what we're told is that he, after shooting, like, you just shot a human being in the neck. He's currently pumping blood all over his security detail, and people are freaking out. You just did that, and now you're disassembling you're up on the roof with a screwdriver. It would take a screwdriver and an Allen key, unless this thing was, like, put together in some weird way, which it wasn't. There's a couple things you'd have to unscrew with a screwdriver and then Allen keys to get the scope rings apart, whatever. So he's up there using his fine motor skills to manipulate Allen keys, right? Gets the thing disassembled, stuffed back in his pants or in a backpack. And then when you watch the blurry, like, Bigfoot video, you can't really tell. You're like, maybe I don't know, can't see. But anyways, gets down off the roof, makes his way into his egress point, which is a property owned by Palantir, by the way. That's another little tidbit. The place where they find the rifle is a piece of real estate owned by a holding company that's owned by Palantir. Okay, so
what are the odds?
So after all this, he makes his way to where he's going to leave this rifle, and they find the rifle now reassembled. You put the thing back together
to ditch
it. What are we talking about, guys? This is insane. And you don't need to be. You just have to understand, like, reality to realize that that's all absurd.
Did you hear something about he was supposed to speak at Virginia Tech, but they moved it? Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't hear about that. You hear, and I'm just regurgitating what I hear guys like Jay Dyer and people that are really drilled into the, like, MK Ultra kind of psyop thing. Utah makes a lot of sense for something like this because Utah's a crazy place. The Mormons they're very attractive to elements like the CIA. Mormonism and the CIA are linked. That's even in The Good Shepherd. I think they allude to that. But, like, because if you think about it, these are very highly insular, disciplined, organized, moral people. Just say what you will about the Mormons, but this is the way they live. These are people with those kind of values that do missionary work all over the world. So they have cover for action. Oh, by the way, they're patriotic. So you have patriotic, moral, disciplined, intelligent people
And one of the things he's leaving out, they are completely susceptible, apparently, to believing nonsense. Like, hey, somebody told me a bunch of shit or showed me where some gold plates are,
yeah.
but nobody else can see where these gold plates are. They've already shown that hey, sorry, Mormons.
No. It's a ridiculous theology. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, my entire extended family was like deep Mormons,
Now, did you guys hear about that he had did a semester at that university under that program that was actually authored by an ex-CIA employee, that woman who runs that course? There's a course there at that particular university that is a CIA course. And he was there for a semester before he dropped out.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on.
When I did some Googling of UVU, because I was like, that just sounds weird. Like, when you look at the letters UVU, it almost makes like a cryptogram.
Yeah, it goes
and so when I started looking into it, there is a UVU there under, I think it's their, not anthropology, but maybe like sociology department, where their symbol is an owl. And that's a big occult.
Yeah, that's a big.
Like, that's Minerva. That's seeing in the dark.
Well, they make sigils out of all their corporate logos and stuff. So
they were saying that the university is a hotbed for CIA recruitment, probably because of the atmosphere there, as far as what you guys are talking about. But also, I think like I said, there is a class or two that's kind of like a recruitment ground for individuals.
A great place for the agency to spot talent.
Call it the Harvard International Business School.
The other interesting thing about the shooter situation was when they put out that dialogue, the chat messages between him and his trans girlfriend, whatever. Did you catch any of that? If you read this thing, it sounds like a cop wrote it to like set somebody up. It's not the way young people talk.
Yeah.
And then people are arguing about it online because it's obvious. It just reads like poorly written script from like a B movie or something. It's like, my love, I'm making my way back to my drop off point. Like, this is ridiculous, and it's like people are arguing because they're like, no. Autistic, spurgy, transy type people, they talk like that. And I'm like, all right, dude, no, they don't. This is crazy.
And why text people? Like, why would you text?
Well, because he was, he'd done the deed. And so their stuff's pretty corny to read, but it's like, hey, sorry, he texts his girlfriend or whatever she is, sorry about all this, I'm sure you've seen what's going on at the college. And then it's like, no way, that was you? Yes, it was me. Anyways, I'm trying to make my way out. I'm trying to get out of the woods, but there's people looking for me. Like, oh no, like, it's like this, it's really cheesy dialogue.
What do you think about the whole thing? They said that what was his dad, like ex-law enforcement, and then they convinced him to turn himself in?
That's another funny one. Yeah, his dad is, some sort of ex-law enforcement. I think he was like a detective or something. But like his dad's the one that turned the kid in.
Huh.
Which is, someone was saying there's a Masonic like betrayal of the sun like lore thing. It's like something like this happens, and then everybody just finds all the pieces of like Freemasonic lore.
Yeah, well, the Mormons are a Masonic cult, like John Smith was.
Yeah, for sure.
What about? Remember when Ash Patel.
Dude, this guy's crazy.
He's
the best, dude.
What? And my friend said he couldn't solve a hot dog crime at a hot dog stand.
Dude.
Anyway, they said it was 33 hours, and then they said they changed it up. First he said 20, 33. I mean,
36.
33.
No, this is what he said. He goes, in record time, in less than 36 hours, actually precisely 33 hours.
Right.
And you're like, oh, geez. Dude, but the other interesting thing about him was you caught his Till Valhalla nonsense, right? So after Charlie Kirk is killed, he's doing a press conference and he's talking very dramatically about his friend Charlie Kirk. And he says, there's more cornball stuff. The writing this season's really bad. So he goes, Charlie, to you, we've got the watch. See you in Valhalla, brother. Like this, right?
Yeah. What was that?
Okay, so Valhalla, this is a common thing with military guys. Like, you go to any kind of military unit, and there's going to be a bunch of guys there that identify as Vikings. They get pretty serious about it. They get the rune tattoos, and then that starts a whole chain of like Valhalla themed everything. Like in Marine Special Operations, there was one whole battalion that was like constantly till Valhalla all the time. Shit, right? So okay. So that's, I'm kind of used to seeing that. So Kash Patel is like, kind of faking the funk like he's some sort of military guy or whatever. But Kash Patel's an Indian guy. That's different paganism, totally different pagan religion. But the real interesting part about this is, I can't remember the shooter's name, but there's a photograph of the shooter standing in his bedroom. Okay. You got to look this up when anyone watching, check this. It's on Twitter and stuff. He's standing in his bedroom and he's got his PC next to him on a table. And what's shown on the screen of the PC is like a Google Earth image. And it's of an island in New Zealand.
Isn't it called Goat Island?
I think it's called Goat Island. And then when you zoom in on the island, there is a private, it's marked on the map as like a private club, and it's a private resort called Valhalla.
I've seen that.
In the middle. So it's like, so this feeds into the, Charlie Kirk was not actually killed. He's a Freemason, he's part of the Masonic theater. They constantly do these rituals where they pretend to kill these guys and then they disappear them to some other place in the world where they live for a while until they're reintroduced into society or in Europe or somewhere else under a different identity. I don't know. I'm not saying I buy into all that, but this is one of the theories that gets bandied about.
I mean, I've seen some folks get shot at some folks.
Yeah.
You've handled your business. That dude looked like he got fucking murked.
So let's talk about that. So like on the sniff test, like just kind of first reaction to it. So like in comparison to like the Trump one, which immediately I was like, that's the fakest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
This one, I was actually kind of taken aback. Like I saw the first video and then I saw the like closer one that someone took with a camera phone, and that one got me. I was like, that dude just got black. That looked real to me. Like the way he reacted.
Yeah, it's a physiological reaction when your brainstem.
Yeah, your parasympathetic.
Yeah, your parasympathetic nervous system like locks up. It's like when you get knocked out, you see a guy just get like starched. He just kind of like,
I think he was killed.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily believe he was shot. I think there's a very compelling evidence of a exploding road mic. So this is like, who did we just see kill a bunch of people with pagers and shit?
Interesting.
That very technology is ubiquitous in the environment. It's everywhere. So to me, and then look, I've seen 100 different videos with 100 different explanations about how he was killed with 100 different hand gestures. And look at this guy, he moves a thing and you can clearly see him shoot. But the one that the way they edit these things, you can convince me of basically anything with editing. I'll be like, yep, that's real. And then 2 minutes later, something that contradicts it, I'm like, nope, that's the one. But this thing with the exploding, he was wearing like a Rode mic here. Okay. Rode the brand. Yeah, this shit. It with when you see the explanation, it's kind of compelling. It does kind of look like something kind of blows here, and then the shots like through the neck and out that way. But
you think it's almost like a shrapnel?
Plausible.
Metal pieces shot out of that little mic.
Dude, that's what those pager bombs were. Just all they're doing is putting. Well, you tell it.
Well, I was going to say you could use a micro detonator, and even the blast force of a micro detonator could propel a projectile. Call it like a small explosively formed projectile or EFP in an extremely small package.
Dude, and you'd be surprised how little mass it takes to create like a life-ending injury. Like it'd happen frequently in combat where a guy would get hit, something frag nearby or something, and you do a blood sweep on him and you check and it doesn't appear that he has any actual wounds, and he's just bleeding out because some small high velocity piece of shrapnel that just had enough mass to go in and nick shit or something. So it's like, I don't think it would take that much to like blow out someone's aorta or whatever. What's up there?
No, somebody else pointed out something to me too, and they said, Charlie was out here in Arizona, and they could have, if they wanted to really just get rid of the guy, they could have made it seem like it was a random like liquor store shooting, home invasion. You know what I mean? Like this was
a ritual. This was
This was like, we want to show you exactly what we can do with thousands of people watching.
The thing that complicates it for me though, so like let's just pick who. It doesn't even matter, like, because we're not going to figure it out. So like whatever like boogeyman we think did it, this group, that group, right? But it's what came next where things got really interesting to me, because in short order they have this memorial service and they bring out all the big guns, Tucker Carlson and like everybody, right? Is that this thing? And Eric and Kirk, that's her name, right? The wife, okay, who has an interesting background, went to a Jesuit school, was in one of Trump's pageants. Her father was one of the architects of Trump Towers. So she's connected with like the Trump orbit. Okay. Jesuit. All right. Big Freemasonic G diamond ring. On all the pictures are her hands on Charlie's coffin. And none of these images are incidental. That's what people need to understand. They're all staged for effect. There is a huge diamond crusted G. That's Freemason.
Yeah.
But so anyways, back to the memorial. This thing's crazy, dude. There's fireworks. It looks like it looks like WWE. It has that feel to it. It's highly produced. I've never seen a memorial or anything like it. And then she gives this speech, and she talks about the young man and how just all Jesus based. So it's like Christ commands us to forgive, and I forgive this young man for shooting Charlie. Like, and everyone's crying because of the forgiveness. And then, dude, you watch the right-wing pundit sphere, all on cue, without exception. Every right-winger you've ever heard of. No one's pushing back on any of this shit. They're like, dude, even the left-wing, like, the like left-leaning centrist ones, like Breaking Points and stuff, they're singing the same, and they're usually skeptical of all this shit. Not even them. They're like, it was the most beautiful message. I don't know how she did it. This is a woman of profound strength. They're creating a hero out of her. Like, she's going to be the, like, phoenix that rises from the fuck. I'm guessing, in some ritualistic way, she's being put in the center of this movement. Now, I don't know if that was like sacrifice Charlie for the greater good type stuff, or they're just capitalizing on a thing that happened. Who knows how this stuff it really is, but you can't be a normal person that's not in a cult and watch that memorial and be like, oh yeah, that's totally normal. That's what we do. What?
So, and there's other things moving in the environment right now, right? So when something like this happens, like Aren pointed out, the WWE fucking funeral that went down, like how long does it take to put something like that together?
Can you turn your mic up a little bit, Cody?
Yeah, let me see here.
How's
that sound?
Yeah. Okay.
Sound better?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, cool. So we got this death, and what this death does is it seems to solidify the right. Still sounding pretty good?
Yeah, I figured it's this one.
So the right is coalescing around this death of Charlie Kirk, and the right really doesn't have anything to coalesce around right now, right? Because Trump just seems to be in the pocket of Israel. I mean, what it doesn't. There doesn't seem to be a lot of wins for the Christian right at this point, and so. You actually need that group of people to be on your side if you want to start doing things like war with Iran, war with China, because it's the good-hearted like Christians from the flyover states of America that actually go forth and fight those wars. It's not purple hairs, it's not people checking the tranny fluid on their car, so to speak. It's guys like the three of us from like Ohio, that go fight like that. Well, I mean, with the rhetoric that's in the country right now, and I'm even hearing it from the people I know, I'm sure you're hearing it from the people, like there's not a lot of people beating their chest to join the military and do military shit these days, because we saw what happened. I mean, the Afghan war went down. I mean, we didn't have a really good showing. So you need a galvanizing event to bring these people back together.
Yeah.
And so that this event happens. And then so what I do, because I'm to the point now, man, where I'm like, look, if it comes off of anything remotely close to what you can call mainstream media, whether that's podcast or, Fox News or whatever, podcasters are basically now mainstream media. It's just
the big ones are.
It's just the certain ones that they've chosen, right? So if it comes to me through this through this conduit, I just assume that it's an op, like immediately, right? Because it always is, So. In my old age, I guess, what I've done, especially with this Charlie Kirk thing, is just sit back and just watch, man. Just sit back and watch the rest of the sphere. Like, what is the rest of the information operation sphere like doing out there?
Yeah.
Well, they just recalled all like 800 generals in the United States military, give or take, back to Quantico, Virginia,
to meet with Pete Hegseth.
Hegseth.
This has never happened. I was talking to, I work with a pretty senior admiral, he's civilian now, but we were talking about it. And he's like, and he has 40 years or something experience with the military. He's like, this is unprecedented. And he was an admiral. He was a flag, a general officer. And he's like, no, this is unprecedented. I've never heard anything like. And he was beside him. He was like, he couldn't rationalize. He's like, they all have to go meet Pete Hegseth. Like Pete Hegseth is like,
let's just pull this apart. Pete Hegseth is a fucking punk.
yeah, but he should not be the Secretary of Defense. It's crazy.
I wouldn't take driving directions from that dude, let alone war directions.
Dude, it would be like if you took a guy that manages a Dollar General and you told him he was now in charge of Sony Entertainment.
Oh, shit.
I mean, so it's such a break in baseline, and it is such a violation of operational security to move that many dudes of that level around, that they, in my mind, all of this meta narrative is building towards something else.
Dude, that's the generals thing is a good one to talk about, because just thinking, operationally, like what possible reason what would you have to do that? Well, in the way that our world's structured now, you don't have to physically have people meet like that. We are connected by very effective comms means. You can get if there's information to pass, you could get it out no problem without causing this many people to physically assemble. Okay, so why are you making a move? Okay, well, maybe the current regime just wants to know as much as possible about how those guys move. Because what do you do when you like pull a little sneaky one and overthrow governments or whatever? You gotta lock down the military guys. You do a junta. All right, so maybe we got to know. Maybe the current regime wants to know how these guys move, and also wants to know if anybody's going to say no and not show up. You got to start thinking about like totalitarian regime type stuff.
Yeah.
The other, so that's a bad way.
Well, okay. I'll add on to that real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Before the last Israeli strike against Iran, they somehow tricked all the fucking Iranian brass, or a big chunk of the Iranian brass, to go to a certain area. And then that certain area ate bombs.
It could also be, if we're hearing about it, I look at like that's like me, if the three of us are talking, we might leak something that's totally contradictory to how we're really going to move, because we're not going to let nobody publicly know exactly what the hell we got going on. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I almost feel like when they leak stuff like that, they do it purposely, but there's something else, like almost the opposite is taking place, because of just, they know people are putting their ear to the ground trying to figure out what's happening. So it's almost like a counter move too at the same time.
I think that's valid. And also, like, let's just say they're not trying to do something shitty. They're doing like proactive protective stuff. So the other reason, like you said, you're going to want to, but the other thing is you could stimulate the information environment like that, and then pay attention to what kind of collect is happening. Like, hey, when we said that, what sparked up? What networks sparked up?
What chatter? You listen to all those networks and see what's going on. Okay, these guys are going to maybe go over here, so they're thinking we're going to be here. So these are enemies. They're going to think, you know what I mean? Because they're going to so you almost trick people into going one way, and then you find out who's really not in the game. You know what I mean? Who's really counter to what you're trying to do.
And I think it's smart because it's so unprecedented. You could probably do it once,
Yeah.
Like it'll work this time, because the whole world, every Chinese, Russian, Iranian collector is going to be like, fuck, we need to get our shit together. And then, if you just never, you're not going to get that trick done twice, but it could work once.
So we call foreign intelligence services FIS, FIS. And I was talking to a guy earlier today, and that's one of the things I threw out there as a hypothesis, is like, all of these generals have to be the target of foreign intelligence services, right? It just makes sense. You wouldn't, of course we're watching their generals, so there's no reason to believe that they wouldn't be watching ours.
It's why they exist.
So, we might be aware of the first, second, and third line of foreign intelligence service things that are going on against our guys, but maybe we don't know the fourth, fifth, and sixth.
Yeah.
So what we do is like Aren is saying, some completely unprecedented thing. We move. You break baseline. You do something very strange. There's small tactical things you can do on the battlefield, all the way up to something like this, and it forces them, like you were saying, Herc, to energize different systems. Like, oh shit, this guy's moving. Oh shit, 700 of them are moving. Well, hey, call up our 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th line collectors and get those guys moving.
Yep.
And now, before you give the order for all those generals to move, you have your collection poised and ready. You're like, okay, let's see what's going on. There was a Korean airliner that I believe was called Korean Air like 007 because they like doing little dumb shit like that. And this Korean airliner just like started screaming towards, like, I think it was fucking Russia one day. It was either Russia or China. I've heard so many stories, I forget the fucking details of some. But the theory is that the CIA basically hijacked that fucking plane and sent it over there. So
Hijacked it remotely, like with a sneaky.
or with a pilot.
Oh, okay.
The pilot has some real creep shit going on.
Okay.
And this plane ends up getting shot down.
Okay.
But the theory is that it was one of those things where, like, hey, well, let's see what happens when a civilian airliner.
Yeah, let's see what their system does.
Because we can parachute out of a civilian airliner. How close can we get before we catch missiles?
Yeah, that's cool.
Check out like Korean Air 007.
No, you know what? It's in that video I sent you. Remember I sent you the video about them talking about a distraction that they used that Korean to see what their countermeasures were, and they kept getting warnings, but they kept flying into a no-fly zone to see what would happen. Now, you just pointed out something really interesting. So you say that, right, and you tie this in, and then look at now, they just passed the death penalty in D.C. Whoa. So if you kill somebody or kill a cop in D.C., in that federal enclave, you're up for the death penalty. They haven't had that. So now you bring in an element in the D.C. where if you're espionage, if you're doing any attempted, bro, you're getting the firing squad.
Damn, dude.
Well, let's look at this. I had another buddy send this out, because we're like talking shit back and forth on the text when all these generals started moving. And one of my other buddies was like he mentioned what Aren mentioned about kissing the ring, find out who was going to not do it. I'm like, yeah, so that's like multiple people are thinking along those lines. Another thing he mentioned was like, well, hey man, they may be about to crack off in fucking America. Like they just called Antifa terrorists.
Yeah.
So you might call the boys back and be like, hey, check it out. We're about to do some shit back here.
Dude, don't get me pumped up.
It's not unconstitutional.
Yeah.
We're going to like, they may have to pre-brief these guys before they crack off here in America.
I think that's a very likely.
And I'll back it up with something like this. Like, look, folks, if you've listened to me and Aren, you've heard me say, I'm not a fan of the current capabilities of the U.S. military. I think, Trump is calling people a paper tiger. I'm like, player, I think we're a fucking paper tiger. I don't think we want the smoke with us v. Russia, and I don't think we want the smoke of us v. China.
Yeah.
I know that's going to hurt a lot of people's feelings, but I probably got more war than the people who was fucking feeling that hurt. So what do? You find smaller targets to pick on. You find a Venezuela, you find an Iran, or you find Antifa and Tren de Agua. And now you can get your Black Hawk helicopters flying around with all these fucking cool guys. I think you're born primitive gear and shit.
I think you're onto it. Yeah. They need look, the current regime needs us. This is just how it goes. Dude, this is just like in Brave New World. There's always sending troops off to some war somewhere. You don't really know what the fuck it's for. We have to have it. This is what the current regime lacks. It lacks an active engagement for its military, and it needs it. And so, like you said, it could be domestic, which would be crazy. And puts me in a quandary personally, because it's like, I don't like those little commie motherfuckers. I don't like any of these like weird, demonic freaks. I think this is all devolving very quickly into like a good versus evil type.
Government, right?
Yeah, them too. That's my quandary.
Oh, you mean the targets?
No, dude, that's my exact quandary, because I think it's coming down. I don't care about politics. It's like good versus evil time, right? And look, this Antifa, this far left, Bolshevik freaks, this is the manifestation of like demonic energy, in my opinion. But I look at so it's going to be them versus the government. Then I look at the government and I'm like, that's just more Satanism. These people are satanic freaks. They're freaks.
Yeah. Though, like, going back to what you said, good versus evil, right? And we think about, like, somebody texts me, it's like, Big Herc, when are the good guys going to win? When are they going to show up? And it's a spiritual war out there. But you look at, like, even with the Charlie Kirk thing, not going into like the conspiracy aspect of it, but just people who believe in faith, right? Like you said, good Christian America, white America, who's fought all the wars, right? When you see that many people, bro, I was leaving to go to LA that morning. There was a line at 5 in the morning going to the exit for the stadium. There were 2 stadiums filled up. Like, whether they prepared it ahead of time, I don't know how they pulled it off, but to have that many people show up shows you that the left really underestimate what people believe in. Like, Christians are quiet, bro. There's a lot of churches around doing a lot of baptisms. There's a lot of people turning the faith. So they underestimate, man. And evil, that's the thing about the devil. He thinks he's always got an upper hand. And God just sometimes lays in the cut, bro. I mean, you think things are going,
we're pretty, like, the three of us, we're kind of online, you know, we're paying attention to this stuff probably more than we need to because we talk about it, right? So we're paying attention. But I think most people, they're not, you know, so they're just living their lives, and then something like that event, they're not tuned in to all this conspiracy, you know, they're not so snapped in. But then they know who Charlie Kirk is or whatever, and they're kind of inclined to support his opinions or whatever, and then they see the dude get shot in the neck, and that activates them. They're like, oh geez. And then, you know, it's a human survival instinct. You're like, we can't have this in our environment. We can't raise our families here with, dude, he had an opinion people don't like. He got blasted in the neck. Like, we can't have that. We have to spit that out, you know, like, it's, so you're seeing people get activated. But the thing that sucks is the people that showed up for the Charlie Kirk funeral, and by the hundreds, all those people are good, well-intentioned people. Those are like good people. Yeah. I think that that positive energy will get co-opted, is being co-opted by, dude, like Turning Point USA is not a godly, in my opinion. I think it's a Zionist control mechanism. I think it's to capture the American kind of Christian youth movement and make sure that it stays loyal to Israel, the project of Israel. That's kind of its primary thing. That's why the backing is, you know, the Adelsons, and, you know, there's hundreds of millions of dollars involved in Turning Point USA, right? And so why is there that much money involved? Because it's powerful. It has the reach, you know, dude, if you can get 20,000 college kids to show up and listen to you talk about politics, that's a fucking problem for people that want to control what you talk about.
I heard some number thrown out for Turning Point USA's operating budget per year, and I'm like, how the fuck did this spindly white kid Charlie Kirk come up?
I know exactly how. When he was in university, the same thing that they tried to do with Nick Fuentes and stuff. They spot assess, recruit, and employ these guys. And, you know, dude, he's say what you will about him, you know, but he's a sharp, eloquent. He can mix it up. He can talk. You know, he's, you know, and so there's a use for that. He's like 6'5" or whatever he is. So that's, dude, you got to be tall for everything, right? So anyway, so they get their meat hooks into him, and they send him right to Israel. And he goes over there as a young man, and he gets snapped into what they snap everybody into there. You know, like, hey, this is the last bastion of, they don't give them the Talmudic whole thing. They give them this Judeo-Christian, we're in this together. It's me and you against the barbarian hordes. Go back and get kids signed up for the Marines or whatever.
Why doesn't the conversation then go to this? Like, okay, cool, Israel. So you believe that Jesus is the Messiah as well, since we're Judeo-Christians. Like, if I'm a Christian,
directly contradictory.
I believe that Jesus is the Son of God, and he is the risen Savior, and he's the Messiah, right? And the Jews, they believe the same.
Bro,
the answer is
nobody even has that discussion. It just gets
fuck no.
It just gets glazed right over. It's baked into the cake that, for some reason, it's baked into the cake that not only are our countries tied, but the dominant theology in each country is tied. When in actual reality, they're directly contradictory. The reason Christianity exists is because
he
the
didn't like what was going on over there.
Accept the new covenant.
We're sorry we got your show canceled.
So, no, we're not saying anything. I don't think we're saying anything controversial. Like, I haven't said anything I don't think, maybe derogatory.
I'm just a farmer, bro.
This is the problem. Like
with an organization like that, like you're saying, how'd he do it? I think, like, it's almost like when you get indoctrinated into becoming a gang member, right? Or somebody in some clique, you don't know the long term. You know, you're young, it's opportunity. So I really can't fault him for that.
Of course. He didn't.
I mean, at 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, you know, I didn't wake up until like in my late 20s, or actually mid to late 20s, when you start getting like a sense of consciousness, and then now your heart changes, and I think your spirit changes. So things, you know, they're different. You read something that you read when you were 21. When you read it now, you're like, man, I can't believe this is some straight bullshit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. Yeah, I don't even have a problem with Charlie Kirk, really. Like, even though he was Zionist and stuff, I think he was like a well-intentioned guy. Like, he seemed to, like, I watched a bunch of his debates and clips and stuff, and like, he seems like friendly, actually. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't have malice. You can usually tell. Like, he doesn't seem to have malice. You know, he has his opinions and he believes what he believes, but I don't think he was a dick about it.
So another part of the narrative is that he was doing some noticing.
He was, towards the end, he was asking some very pointed questions about, hold on a second, Israel is only like 45 minutes big in a helicopter.
Yeah.
And you guys had a stand down order for 6 hours. What gives? And they're like, oh, jeez.
So
shut him down.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong again, but a lot of these things in the world, I think, are tied to end times mythology. Isn't it within the Jewish end times that in the end times everybody else turns on them?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's like they're trying to purposefully accelerate the eschaton.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah, they might. But
what do you think about
dude,
Nick? No, I'm sorry.
what
I didn't mean to
about,
what you said?
no, I was done.
No, I was going to ask you. You mentioned Nick Fuentes. What do you think about Nick Fuentes?
Man, I think that he's another guy who's like sharp, eloquent. I think he is a homosexual, and he just does like a repressed, which doesn't really change his message.
What?
Not that matters, but it's interesting because he's so right wing. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of obvious that he is, and then he's representing this other kind of value system. I think just recently, a lot of people are saying that he seems to have taken the deal or something, because now all of a sudden he's on like the Patrick Bet David podcast. He's finally going from being super banned to being on these high profile.
Well, so let's talk about information operations. If I need to get a message out, so for example, Nick is saying things that a lot of people call it in the silent majority probably agree with, right? But while channels like ours, you'll get shadow banned, we'll get kicked off and fucking shadow banned, because we're not under the thumb of anybody, right? Like they don't need the message getting out from us. They need a bleed valve. They need a attention release. They need that the silent majority to hear somebody using their voice. Doesn't matter that he's a basement fucking like boy toucher. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
None of that other bullshit matters. But the only way they're going to let that information get out is through the guy they chose, and they turned the fucking volume up on, right? They're not going to turn the volume up on the three of us,
right?
Because we're going to be telling people, hey man, like head to the. I'm going to be telling people to head to a farm and start digging, like
these guys. They raise their profile with their own skill, and they have a skill. Like Nick Fuentes has a skill. Charlie Kirk had a skill. That takes it's a talented thing that they do, and then that just gets co-opted by people that want influence. I think that all these high profile pundits, there's money behind most of them, like even like Tim Pool's dumbass, like why anybody would like put money behind his completely centrist, ridiculous views. But he was got like some amount of money from like Qatar or somewhere weird. Like they just, they have money, they want influence, so they just buy the influence.
And for some people, money as a motivator is enough.
Sure, that's the point. They got into it. Some of these people cynically are just like, "Oh, I see. This is a game. You can have this skill that I have, right?" And then the game is get the influence, and then just see who gives you the most money. And now all of a sudden you're shilling for Iran or whoever.
Yeah, Tim Dillon said it out loud. He's like, "Hey, I'm for sale."
Yeah, he just got kicked off the Saudi Arabia comedy tour for saying.
He did?
Yeah, they booted him. And he's like, well, I was actually complimenting you guys because I said the slaves were proud of their work.
I like that. Dude,
Kevin Hart, Dave Chappelle, Hannibal Buress, all these guys are all going over there. And the government's paying them. And you could say, I guess Jimmy Dore would say, well, man, they should have, if they would have paid me, I would have won.
Yeah.
So, the bag, bro, is so powerful because I don't want somebody to turn around, and here we are. Who knows? Somebody slid us a bag, and then they're like, "Oh, Aren, because you guys sold out now, because you guys." And so it's such a crazy thing because how many people do I used to tell guys, man, look, if you want to get the game, sometimes you got to infiltrate to get the game. Like if you come out, Black Power, for all you guys, or you come in there, you play the game, listen to a couple black jokes, hey man. Get your funding, get your shit, get your move, and then you scatter off. Now you got some game you never would have had. It's no different than when the British or some of these other Europeans went into these places and they act like they came in peace and they put the paint on their face, and did all the shit, and then when they went back to the ship, they got back to England. Bro, we can go over there and tear shit up.
Yeah, we can get all these.
So
yeah,
they don't
bring some horses. We're gonna stomp shit.
man. I mean, so
yeah,
I'm not saying that everybody's doing that, but what I'm saying is that. And I've had people, when you talk to certain people, they kind of feel you out to see what you're susceptible to. And so I don't know if they send these guys emails or they get you go to a fundraiser, because I listen to some of these guys and I'm like, dude, they can't really talk, but then he's advocating a policy like, you guys heard the Hodge twins or Officer Tate, and you can kind of tell like who's getting the bag. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like who's backing, and it's almost like paid opposition. You can't have everything one way. You got to have a few people sprinkled in there to make it sound like somebody else is speaking the other talking point.
Well, and as a consumer of this shit, most people they just don't understand what's going on. So they take very seriously. They'll align themselves with, they're like, I'm a Dan Bongino guy. You know what I mean? Dan Bongino tells me the truth all the time.
Who the fuck is that?
He's the only one. You know what I mean? And so they get all serious about Dan Bongino, but it's like, hey, all you're doing, you don't know any of these people in actual reality. Okay. You're just consuming this on your phone or on your laptop. Okay. And there's money behind it. It takes money to produce this stuff and distribute it. Okay. So you just, back up a little bit. Like, don't commit. So I'm just kind of saying this to the universe in general, but it's like, you don't have to take everything super seriously or trust these people at all.
Hey, Herc, man, how long do you think you clearly had a skill at it because you're still alive? But how long do you think it took you in like your stay in your prison or when you're putting in work to like really be able to kind of get a read on somebody? Like whether like, hey, this guy might be a snitch. This guy might be onto some bullshit. Like you can kind of tell. Like I'll give an example. Like Aren and I, we've walked through a lot of places where people are wearing clothes, like Afghanistan. I'll just say Afghanistan, like they're not wearing a uniform. Like the Taliban dude is wearing the same shit as the farmer next to him. But you can just kind of smell it on people after a while. You can kind of be like, oh, that dude right there is fucking greasy.
Look on their face.
Saying? Like, it's like, how do you read guys like Bongino and Patel, man? Like to me, they reek of fear. They look like when they're up there talking,
they look freaked out.
Like, you can see fear on a motherfucker, like Marines that aren't about it, like you see it on them, like I'm getting a fearful read off them, man. Like how do you read these guys? What do you think?
Well, just going off of the stage presence, I mean, I haven't been around them, but like when you say like reading people in person, I look at a guy, how he holds his hands, like, and then how he's standing when he's just talking to me, his shoulder position, if he's like posture, you know what I mean? If he's making eye contact, I can feel it a lot more. What I'm seeing just from like TV appears to be like they've been told something, bro. It's not a natural flow, like Cash Patel, he looks like fuck, like, dude, I don't know what.
He's freaked out.
He's like, you know what I mean?
His
like,
eyes are just pinned, dude. Got that smoke show Israeli girlfriend.
When he was being asked about Epstein from, I think it was the Kennedy to Senator Kennedy.
Yeah.
And he was like, he said, so you're telling me Epstein trafficked all the girls to himself? Well, sir, you know what I mean? I mean, really? He's like, well, according to art, I haven't seen anything. He's like,
yeah, I haven't seen any evidence.
Come on.
He was up there
sweating.
Bro, he was spiraling. He was up there yelling. He was like flexing on some of the senators. He's like, well, let's just talk about why you suck. And they're like, dude, what are you doing? What the fuck are you doing?
So what do you think that is? Do you think because Aren and I talked about it a few shows ago, which is, we talked about the way they look when they get up there and talk, specifically Bongino and Patel, which is like, it almost looks like they're looking back at their handler. Like, bro, you want me to go out there and say fucking what? Like, you want me to go out there and tell them there is no Epstein thing? And like some demon behind the scenes is like, yeah, man, you're going to go, you're going to walk right the fuck out there and you're going to say that. And then there they are on stage, like, there is no Epstein thing.
Well, dude, and who knows how bad it all is behind the scenes? Like, it looks pretty bad, but things are still, things are still kind of stable. But for all we know, like, it's a helmet fire. They're like, dude, we're like 1 week away from the entire economy exploding. We need some, you know what I mean? Like, this is full alarm fire.
Or maybe when in their NSA back channels, they're looking at the chat of America, and maybe it's better than we think. Maybe a lot of people are like, you know what, pitchforks aren't that much money. Yeah. Maybe we need some torches.
I'm kind of under the premonition that like whoever's on there, and I was listening to something today, and I sent you guys a link to it. But the guy was saying like before any big bill passes in Congress, they have things that they bring out. Like, how are you voting? Oh, okay, you're going to vote this way. That's what we thought. Like, they already have shit lined up to where these people, like, you have no idea how prepared we've been thinking 20 years ahead of time. So anybody that's in there, and I'm not saying Bongino's been compromised, but like if you haven't, and like say you're not going for the child trafficking, you're not going for the cheating on your wife, well, the only other thing to do is threaten, we're going to blow your head off. So what do you want to take? You know what I mean?
Or I think they'll primary them. So like when you get a guy like what's his name, Thomas Massey, who's like, hey, I'm the only guy that doesn't have APAC money and an APAC handler, and he starts running his mouth about it. APAC's like, get millions of dollars immediately and let's get this dude unelected, because they'll just put a bunch of money behind these congressmen. It's not their campaigns are generally pretty low expenditure. You know what I mean? So if APAC comes in with even like $5 million, they'll be like, let's burn $5 million to get rid of Massey, and they'll do it, and they'll just flood an area with marketing material or whatever the fuck they do, and then
do you think there's any antithesis to that as far as anybody like grassroots America who has the same influence, or is America just done? And that there's no like OG Ross Perot's out there in the
so
shadows?
Unfortunately, I think and they're not in direct opposition to APAC, but they're the other competing interest is I would call it the like a dissident right, the Peter Thiel. So Peter Thiel and his money and these kind of people. So these are the right-wing technocrats. Peter Thiel, Curtis Yarvin is like their political philosopher, kind of. J.D. Vance is a product of Peter Thiel and Peter Thiel's money. J.D. Vance, who's changed his name twice before it became J.D. Vance. Like, he's a construct. He's put there for a very specific reason. I think he'll be the next president, probably. But I mean, this is the direction the country is now heading. So this is like technology, Palantir, Anduril, these type of things. All of that money, this is now the movement, the defense, all that kind of defense money is going to shift into this autonomous munitions, this realm. And this is the political philosophy of those people is this weird Peter Thiel form of like right-wing technocracy, authoritarianism shit. Yeah, it's not good. You might be better off with APAC, dude.
I was asking the same question not too long ago, which is, hey, where the fuck are the good guys at? You know, like where's Batman? Where is the $1 billion Bruce Wayne type dude? Like where? And the answer really is,
they said it was Trump.
Yeah, that's not it.
It wasn't.
And the answer really is, I don't think there is one. I think at the upper level, I don't think you get to the upper levels unless you pass through certain gates. You don't get access to billions of dollars unless you've, in my assessment, unless you've been given access to billions of dollars. You know, through especially if it's new money. We're not talking about like generational wealth. You know, if it's like, you know, talk about a Peter Thiel. The guy was slinging fucking newspapers at Stanford or whatever the fuck.
Like, yeah, you look at all these guys, a lot of them, you know, well, even Epstein, they just plucked that guy out of obscurity and interfaced him with all that capital.
Bill Barr's dad plucked him out of
but I mean, they just interface. These guys aren't, you know, most of these guys that have the kind of money that wield political influence. It's not because they like invented a better stapler and got really rich. It's because they're doing capital, you know, this financial network shit. That's
Thiel gives J.D. Vance a job at Mithril Capital, which is, you know, some made up shit. You know, I think unfortunately what it comes down to is like individual action, man. Like I don't think there are good guys. Like, and what I mean by that is like there's no secretive order of fucking good people
like
behind
white
the scenes. There's no white hats. Like they would have been found and killed.
The good Freemasons. There's bad Freemasons, good Freemasons.
Yeah, like it's because the other team will find you and kill you. Like they're not working on the same rules that we're working on. Like if you are a good guy, then you know you're maybe not going to find somebody and kill them, right? Because you're going to try to.
I agree.
Like
I agree with you, and I think it's such a tough thing because you want to be proactive and you want to fight. You see evil and you see your world being, you see your what could be a beautiful world that you know to be. You've had beautiful experiences in it. You know, I'm just talking about your normal average person here. You know, you're a good person generally. You make some mistakes, but you're not evil. And you've generally had a good experience in the world and you want your family and your kids to have a good experience. But you see what's obviously a bunch of evil shit tearing the whole thing apart. So what you want to do is like fight it. Like you want to band together with other people. Like what he's saying, I don't think I don't see any evidence that like a moral for all the right reasons type of resistance has happened. It's all fractured, and that's on purpose. That's what they do with the information environment. And so in this online shit, like the Dude, it's all so demoralizing. Like the Charlie Kirk assassination. You know, basically every day or 2 days, there's some sort of event that shocks everybody and grabs the public consciousness. And someone in my life told me something the other day, kind of fucked me up because it's actually been a couple of weeks. But like I've been kind of disconnected from this stuff because of what this person told me. But it's like you look at your screens and you focus on the world that's falling apart, like, and you freaked out about it, and you want to do something and it's a mess. But as you do that, and I'm not saying everybody's this way, I'm just saying in my life is accurate. As you do that, your actual world is falling apart. It's not getting the attention it needs. You know what I mean? So like you could build paradise in your own little personal lane. No one's stopping you from doing that yet. You know what I mean? Now it may become a point where that becomes impossible, but it was pretty good advice. It was like, dude, you have limited bandwidth. Have you put all the energy that you possibly could into the things that you actually like? Or are you letting that energy leak out into these fucking screens?
You're totally right.
And then it's getting harvested. That energy is getting harvested from us, you know?
You become, I've seen guys like that in prison where you get so angry at the government that you lose focus on like trying to figure out how to become a better you. And these guys got so much time that it's kind of destroyed any sense of self pleasure or self-satisfaction because of the anger, you know? And I see people, like, I always tell people, I'm like, dude, you know, you look at a situation, let's just say like California, they're passing this bill about the kids, they're doing this about this, and you're like, what can you do? You got a guy on there who's basically running it like he's a dictator or, you know, a socialist or whatever you want to call it. They're giving out, you know, if illegals are getting free checks, but if you're from California, you don't get shit. You know, people are homeless, all this shit going on, and you want to fight that, but like, really, can you fight that? I mean, it's like, or do you just say, you know what, I'm gonna find my little paradise, either get the hell out of here or figure out a game plan because this is bigger than me and I'm not really in a position. I mean, we look at these guys with all this money, all the resources, all the media outlets, and here we are, three of us, you know, got a, you know, few subscribers, so they can crush our message at any time. All we can do is put it out based on our faith and our beliefs, but trying to solve all this shit, it'll drive us crazy. We could just try to keep each other balanced out. That's the best we can do, I feel, because, you know, to try to take on all this other stuff, man, it becomes futile, man. You lose your mind. You turn into a, what's his name, who went out into the Unabomber out in the forest somewhere.
Yeah, Uncle Ted.
Yeah, man, you don't want to turn into that guy, man, who just is like, you know, on a mission.
Yeah.
You know, what I've come to is one of the only ways to potentially move forward is it takes individual action, and it takes the at a certain point, people are going to have to become sick of it, and they're going to have to individually decide to tune out, whether tune out of their screens, because like Aren was saying, our energy is harvested. Like these scams only move forward as we participate. So I know it sounds simple, and it sounds too simple, but it's the only real answer, dude. I've racked my brain about this all the time. Is you have to start to disconnect. You have to we have to start to build the adjacent society.
Yeah, parallel.
The parallel society that makes that society obsolete, to the point where eventually what it comes down to is we don't have our money in their banks anymore. We don't shop at their stores anymore. And the only thing the beast can do at that time is come up with scams to try to demand that you continue to participate.
Yeah, offers.
And those are tougher scams, because then they have to use force. Then they have to like use more leverage. They have to put more of their thumb on the scale.
But I think they do almost anything before force. Once they go to force, they lose a lot of leverage. You know what I mean? Then it's
natural law allows you to fight back at that point.
100%. Exactly. Yeah. They can use treachery and their offers and everything and still be kind of inside this, like, well, you did accept the offer.
You accept it.
We're still good.
Yeah.
But when they use force, that's stealing from you, and that's.
But you know, too, it's like almost like how people have gotten in the game. Like you hear about like certain musicians or actors or producers, like you get your little bag, and then you disappear in obscurity. You know what I mean? They're like, what happened to that guy? You see, he's living on some farm. He's fucking.
Dude, that's the coolest thing you could possibly do. You know what I mean? Dude, that's the coolest thing you can do.
Yeah,
like 2 cool movies, get the bag,
yeah,
and then bounce.
Kind of like, you know, you look at Mel Gibson You look at some of these other guys who were in Hollywood and made them look like they were crazy. What's
Yeah.
the other guy? He spoke out a lot too. The older, it was Mel Gibson. There was another guy. You know what I'm talking about? The older actor. You know,
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
he
Not
was
Jim.
making a lot of comments. Remember about the crime and everything in California. That
Yeah,
I can't remember his name. He's been in a lot of movies, man.
I can picture him. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
But like, you know, he's got his situation where they can't really take what he has from him, but they know he's too old enough to really do any damage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, you're just a talking old man, but
Yeah, they'll allow a few crackpots to
yeah,
lip off. Yeah,
I can't remember that guy's name, man.
I can picture his face perfect.
Yeah, kind of like skinny, like slender
Skinny
face.
face, yeah, and he's
James Woods.
James Woods.
Woods,
Nice.
James Woods, yeah.
Nice.
James Woods.
Nice.
Yeah, he has kind of fallen off. He was pretty vocal for a while.
Yeah.
He kind of disappeared.
What do you think
Man.
about the Comey thing, the indictment of the ex-FBI head of FBI director?
Wait, I didn't even know that he got indicted.
They said he got indicted. He's facing obstruction of justice and something else. They're saying.
Well, I mean, if
Just
he,
got a
are they
distraction.
gonna, he wasn't the only person that. I mean, he must just be the tip of the iceberg because that was an op. Like they had a bunch of people in on that.
Yeah, and his daughter was just in on what the Ghislaine Maxwell thing.
Yeah.
Or,
Wait, so they're indicting him for fabricating the Russia hoax stuff?
I'm gonna look it up right now
Probably.
because I don't want to. Let me see.
you know, I'm gonna, I guess, reserve judgment on that one too. I'll just let it simmer, man. But my initial gut reation is like
Former
nothing's
director-
gonna happen to these people.
And I don't care.
No, I don't care either.
That's Masonic theater.
Former FBI Director James Comey was indicted Thursday on charges of making a false statement, obstruction related to his testimony before the Senate Judiciary in 2020, just days after President Trump issued public demand for Justice Department to act now to bring prosecutions against Comey and other political foes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, dude, you might see some accountability because the new regime's like, that's their brand is to be like unprecedentedly authoritarian.
But they can't. But they're still tied to the right, and you can't have any accountability on the right either because hey, man, Fauci stood right next to Trump while all that shit came out of the side of his neck about everybody needs to get jabbed. Like and then if we keep going down the accountability on the right, we keep pulling that thread. Hey, man, sooner or later we're going to get to 9/11. And then sooner or later, we're going to get to Poppy Bush. That Bill Clinton is probably an asset of fucking Bush Sr.
But, I think we're already far enough away from that like it's
Too much distance.
Well, it's just how it is. Like they could come out with some definitive evidence or something about 9/11 and still a large block of people won't believe it. They're not going to change their mind about the official. You know what I mean? You're never going to get to this point where, it's globally accepted that a thing happened. It's going to be, these things don't get resolved. They don't get resolved. I can't think of a single thing that's ever been resolved. Controversy, conspiracy, something where we're like, we thought it was this, but now we know it's this.
Herc, man, what would you say the numbers are, like percentage wise, of people that fall into the lifestyle you got into and wake up to it being some form of a scam? Whether the prison industrial system or like the entertainment industrial system that was like guiding people towards that through like gangster rap. Like, of the people that get tied up in that game, what would you say is the percentage that manage to figure it out and extricate themselves? Like just ballpark, right?
Well, I would say probably maybe 8%, bro. Maybe 8%. You know why I say that? Because like in prison, say there's 2,000, 3,000 guys. You go into the law library and there's maybe only 20 dudes in there, bro, fighting or two. And then you start talking to even among those guys, the guys who really know, like some ex-military guy who's in there who got, you know what I mean? Because feds had military do, and you start hearing, then these guys are even deeper. Out of all the people that are sitting there watching football, basketball, walking the track, playing softball, only a handful of guys are actually trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. Yeah. And you go on the street, it's even worse. I mean, we're more spread out. I mean, you guys look at the distance from us, but we connected. That's the thing. We connected through energy. Our frequency was able to find each other, but look at like you guys. I mean, you're on the streets and you're in your area. There's one guy in my gym yesterday who I had met, but I come to find out he's kind of on the same path. But very rarely do I even talk to anybody about any of this stuff because people like this is a black radical. I'm like some other, you know what I mean? I keep it to myself, bro. Like I really don't try to like unless somebody see my page. And a lot of times when people come up to me, I'm like kind of like, I don't know what I got to
Yeah,
say.
you don't know how it's gonna go.
Or this guy like, hey man, you with that bullshit. So majority of dudes come up to, hey man, watch yourself. Okay, cool. I can feel you're not trying to, but like, yeah, you never know, man. But it's very, very, very small. I would say about 8%.
So the reason why I was asking that is, I've got kind of like a working theory that, there's 80% of people I think out there. I'm just throwing that out as a rough number are highly susceptible to hypnosis. And I did a little bit of research on hypnosis. I watched a few documentaries about it, and it does seem that there are people that are more physiologically susceptible to it than others.
Yeah.
And so it when we were talking earlier, it seems to pan out. That you have. I'll keep saying 80. Well, 80% of people that are just completely fucking hypnotized, and then you probably have 10% who are running the scam on the evil side, and then you probably got roughly 10% of us that can see it openly and who are like, "Hey, fellas, this is some bullshit."
Yeah,
you probably got 10% of us chirping on this other side, and what we're really doing is dealing with this monolith in the middle that's just going to believe anything that comes off the fucking TV screen. Yeah.
You know what you just said? You just made a great point right there when you said the hypnotized, right? Because I was listening to a guy and he dealt with like a lot of the celebrities, and basically they would send like, "Hey, go see this doctor." If you notice in Hollywood, they always got the, "Hey, go see this guy. Go this guy do this," right? So these people who specialize in certain types of like hypnosis and based on they were saying childhood trauma, that determines your ability to be hypnotized. So you're more susceptible if you suffered any type of like child abuse, very broken home. So why do you think they need to establish this among all these different households? Because it's easy. I can hypnotize you from afar. If your home is broken,
yeah, they could do it.
Abusive, your dad was a crack addict, you grew up in gangs. All this stuff plays into hypnosis, exactly what you're talking about, bro. So from a distance, I can put stuff out there and people don't even know there's different levels of being hypnotized. You don't have to be with the guy looking at the watch going back and forth. You could be on TV, and because you're programmed, because your home environment is so disruptive, I could enter your home through your media device.
Yeah.
It could be the flicker rate on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, you ever seen a kid just staring at an iPad like he's in a trance?
Yeah, like all of them.
Yeah.
Look at the music videos, right? If you look at the music videos, it's the symbolism. Lady Gaga with the babies and all that stuff, or the guys with, the dudes hanging out, and you got the kids dancing, and everybody's like this, and you feel it. So when the guy watches that, he could be in an environment. He's like, yeah, he's hypnotized. He's brought into that world, the beat.
Yeah.
Maybe he's had a pill. Maybe he smoked a little weed. There's all these other elements, almost like what they talked about. Not to jump way off topic, but in the book I got Chaos, where it talks about they use Charlie Manson, and there was a family clinic on Haight and Ashbury that they would use to recruit these young hippie girls to see what they would be susceptible to. And then Charlie, in the process, they showed him how to use drugs to like manipulate people. Because I get you so high, like some of these guys who, were high on PCP, and they go and, yeah, cut, boop, boop, and they go kill somebody or blood, you know what I mean? And then they get off the drugs. They're like, "What'd I do?" You were hypnotized. You were trapped into a program, bro.
It's a really interesting topic to me because, like, I think a lot about morality and stuff now, like I never used to, and I lived a pretty hedonistic life, like through most of my, young life up into my late 30s and stuff. But I would go, we'd be overseas, a lot of places, all over the world partying, and every kind of different place you can imagine, right? And I always remember there would always be, in the Marines, there's always guys from a Christian religious background. Like if you got 5 guys with you, 2 of those guys are like born again Christian types, and, you get to partying with these guys and they're doing the same stuff I'm doing. We're out in the, the houses of ill repute, doing all this stuff with women and everything like that. And I would be, that stuff's I'm like inclined, I have proclivities in that direction. So it's like all easy for me. I come in, I'm doing my thing. I'm in heaven. You know what I mean? But these guys with the religious background were afterward, we'd be back on the ship or back in the barracks or back wherever we were. And they're like a wreck. They, they have a real problem with how they behaved and what happened. And they want to talk about it. And I'm like, dude, we had a blast. What's your problem? And I have a bunch of specific memories of that. And it was like their programming, their moral programming clashing up against this like hedonistic experience, and they don't mesh. You know what I mean? And like it's just it's just interesting. So like you could have, my point is, those guys, those Christian guys, they had positive, what I would consider like a positive propaganda installed in them. You know, they had a religious belief in how you should behave. So we could be programming our culture in a positive way. We could be using the powerful media apparatus to show people a world, show the benefits of moral behavior. Now, I sound like the biggest fucking square dork on the planet. I don't care. I'm just saying what I believe to be true. Like, you could positively affect culture with the technology that we have. They are very intentionally damaging our culture so they can control us. You can't have, you want immoral, scared people that are spazzing out, pursuing every base desire, eating everything in sight, putting their genitals on anything that'll tolerate it. Like, this is what you want, so you can come in and control. You know what I mean? But if you've got moral people that are like, hey, there's a way that I behave and a way that I don't behave. I see the benefits of this behavior and I see how this behavior ruins your life. And we hold each other accountable. When my cousin is not behaving right, I'm going to grab him by the back of the neck and be like, what are you doing? This is how we police ourselves and we maintain a culture. And that's hard to control. It's hard to be some creepy corporation or government to come in from the outside and be like, no, behave like this. You'd be like, dude, get the shotgun. Look at this guy. What's he doing?
Yeah. But you know,
so this is what's happened to us. You know,
you're absolutely right. And what they do is they use these private institutions so that way it doesn't appear that it's government funded or it's government backed, the behavior. Because one of the things, like whenever I was doing shit I knew I shouldn't supposed to, when I was selling crack or when I was riding around with a pistol or I did stuff, in the back of my mind, I always thought about what would my grandma say. You know what I mean? I knew it wasn't right, bro. I've been in that lifestyle on porn sets and this and that, and but there was always a line I never crossed.
I'm like, this guy gets it.
You know, there was like certain things, like I would see guys doing stuff, and I'm like, I'm out. This is some weird shit. I'm cool.
Yeah.
Or hey man, we're gonna do this. I would kind of skirt the line, so I might be doing this on the street, but then I wouldn't do this. Or you guys are gonna do this. I'm not gonna do that with these skanks, but I'm gonna go over here and do something else. You know what I mean? So I was trying to like juggle that and make sense of it, but because I did have some moral foundations in there, it made it easier for me to kind of figure out, like, when it was at the end of the day, like, this is not me. You know what I mean? Because some guys, they don't have that compass. They don't have that where they even had that to even reflect from.
It's a powerful topic, and this is why this is a common theme in movies and fiction and stuff. It's like I'll give you an example, like, because everything in Star Wars is very symbolic, but like you have the Boba Fett character where even though he has barely any dialogue or whatever, they manage to communicate by his actions that there are things that Boba Fett will do. He's a bad guy. He's a bad guy bounty hunter. You know what I mean? Like, we don't like Boba Fett. He's a bad guy. But you find out that there's things Boba Fett will do and there's things that Boba Fett will not do. He has a line, he has a moral center that he won't violate, which is interesting for a bad guy. So you see that in a lot of bad guy characters. They get right up to the edge, and then even they are like, no, we don't do that to kids or something, it's just interesting. It's an interesting.
No women, no kids in the professional.
Yeah, there you go. No women. Yep. Yeah. So there. But that's another thing they want to control. They're going to want to. This control system wants to show us where the line is. Right. You know what I mean? Oh, right now we moved the line. The line is currently, you can chop your dick off, and it's cool.
Dude, just as a side thought, where you guys are chopping it up over that, man, I feel like I distinctly remember when it sort of turned, and I'm going to blame it on like the movie Pulp Fiction. Like, who the fuck is the good guy in Pulp Fiction?
Yeah.
Like from a storytelling standpoint, the protagonist, the antagonist, the story arc, like I guess you could say that Jules goes through a story arc because he decides to leave the game at the end.
Yeah.
But in that movie, it's all degeneracy.
Yeah, there might be a neutral character here and there, but there's no good ones.
Yeah, and that was the time really that, what was it, like the mid 90s when that thing came out?
Mid 90s. Yeah.
It's because also around that time was like Heat, and like who's the good guys and who's the bad guys in
They're
Heat.
all
man,
good
I'm
guys.
all ruined.
They're all good guys.
I'm rooting for the fucking bank robbers in Heat.
Yeah,
right?
of course.
It almost seemed like that's the time when the entertainment industry sort of like turned to like where like Dexter, dude.
Yeah.
That's a fucking serial killer.
Dude, and look at where it started. You know, yeah, everything's evil and murder and degeneracy and sex and everything now, but look where TV started. It was like Father Knows Best, Leave It to Beaver. Look at, Little House on the Prairie. Hey, and I grew up, watching a lot of that stuff, and dude, it wasn't like it would bore me to tears now probably, but it was compelling. Like I liked it. I liked watching that shit. And it was like, yeah, you kind of learn, especially if your family's not, if you're in a weirdo family, you can at least see a positive family modeled for you. Like, oh, this is what's supposed to happen. They have Christmas presents and shit.
So from the programming point during that period of time, it's almost like they needed the nuclear family to stay together for a particular reason.
Yeah, to build the world's most powerful economy.
Yeah,
and now they're going to replace that economy with technology, and they don't need the people anymore. So
these people are a fucking problem.
Let's atomize everybody, destroy their culture, destroy their morality. Dude, it kind of always comes back to like more. There's the morality is a big one, and the other thing I've been thinking about a lot lately, because people talk about rights all the time, and this authoritarian regime, and it's like talking about rights is the wrong topic. We should be talking about what our duties are. Forget rights. You get the right to fulfill your duties. That's what you get. You know what I mean? And what is your duties? Your duties are whatever your duties are. Are you a father? Are you a brother? Are you a husband? Are you this kind of worker? Are you building something? Are you building a company? Do you have employees that you're responsible to? That's what it is. That's what your duties are. And then your rights should accompany those duties. I'm tired of hearing about what people think they have a right to. You don't have a right to shit. There's only force. The government has a monopoly on force. You have a right to whatever you're going to do until somebody who can overpower you stops you. That's it. This paperwork, Bill of Rights, Constitution, stacks of paper, dude. Guys with wooden shoes and fucking feathers sign that shit.
I think a lot of that's came into play, though, since we've indoctrinated the whole participation trophy and victim mentality. Because
victim mentality is huge.
That's where all those rights. Well, my kid has the right to have a trophy too because he showed up. We have a right to do this. That's all that bullshit, bro. Where when you don't get no trophies at the war ceremony because you guys didn't win a game, that's gonna make you want to do better the next year.
Yeah.
Or realize that you didn't climb the mountain like little Billy, so you don't get the hill climb mountain trophy. These are things that kids. It's like once you started changing that. And I think around the late after the 80s and into the 90s, like when they started having all the drug families and the really broken homes and all that stuff really took a big boom, it was easy to indoctrinate people to make it seem like everybody's a victim, everybody deserves something, and I have a right if I want to my hair purple, shave my nuts, do whatever I want to do, and you can't. Yeah. You have to accept it.
Which is it's so like logically incoherent too, because it's like you say, let's just take abortion or something, right? So I have a right to have an abortion, and you're saying it as if it's the case, like, no, I can do this, and you're appealing to the government who actually has the authority to allow you or not. So it's like, no, you don't have a right. You're appealing to something that's more powerful than you to allow you to do it. You don't have shit.
If it was a right, you wouldn't have to appeal to anything.
Exactly. Yeah. If it was a God-given right, you wouldn't be appealing to a bureaucracy to do it. And then, oh, by the way, they just on a whim will tell you that you don't have that right anymore. So did you ever have it? No.
Or maybe in this state or this.
Yeah, it's the sooner people kind of, bro, we're appealing to this huge, the government's a mega corporation, right? So we're appealing to Walmart to tell us how to have our family picnic. You know what I mean? Like, we need to stop appealing to the government and just start building. Dude, guess what? The other thing is you can kind of do whatever you want if you're smart. That's the thing. If you're not loud about it, there's like things you don't actually have to pay, like there's a lot you can do if you're smart. It's kind of like this game for the normies. You know what I mean? And like, you're in it as much as you're in it. You can choose to be in it or not. But if you're smart, you realize you're like, dude, I don't actually have to do most of this. Like COVID, you don't really have to, like you just got to calm down and kind of pull back a little bit,
I think that's a great point because like I always looked at it like the game is not black and white. There's always a gray area. And for people to get mad because they don't want to I don't want to do the gray area. Well, don't do it. Don't get mad when the next person's doing it and they're not complaining. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, like you said, you got to do this, do that. No, you have to do it. I'm going to slide over here. I can dip and dodge and I don't have to go by that. But that's the whole thing too, where people don't understand when you talk about like inherit, not a right, like God given. I can do whatever the hell I want to do. So why would I even have to voice it to you if I'm gonna do it? I'm
That's
just
right,
gonna
yeah.
go do it. It doesn't matter what you say because this is my body. I can do what the hell I want. At the end of the day. So a lot of that discussion that's been brought into, I think, the public forums was by design. And one of the biggest things, going back to Charlie Kirk, was on these platforms where you're at these campuses, and it's supposed to be so-called college educated individuals, and he's being really, he's just letting you talk. That was really, I don't care what people say if you don't agree, but he let you talk. He would talk, and then it's like at the end of the day, people would be like, wow, so everything you thought you built your whole foundation on, when it got put out there into the sphere and it got like destroyed because it was really ignorant, then you got to go back and think, wow, what, maybe I was thinking on some bullshit, or it makes you think more. And he was making people think, and that thinking is what they fear the most. Because like me and you can't go. If I go into, at least the campus is regulated, but we try to go in some of these places, bro, the hood, it ain't happening. You can't have an intelligent conversation. Dudes
Right,
are
they're
gonna
not trying
pull up on
to.
you.
Yeah.
You gotta get shot at. I mean, even when you try to share knowledge, a lot of times these people are not, they're not able to process.
Well, you're casting pearls before swine.
What's that?
Like in the Bible, don't cast pearls before swine. And you can, but you got to try. It's like you said earlier. Like you can kind of sniff it out. Sometimes people ask little kind of questions, and you can kind of sort out where someone's head is a little bit. It's tough. I've been a lot more kind of social lately for some weird reason, and I work in a place that's like a shared office, like a work share. So like our company has like a section, but it's open, And so I've been chopping it up with a bunch of people lately, and it's interesting to kind of like the Charlie Kirk thing or what. See, like I just have a method of just kind of being very like, you can't, like I don't commit to anything, and I try to draw out what their thing is first, and it's been interesting. Like people have a very like measured. Everybody I talked to was like, it's horrible. Like I didn't agree with that guy, but holy smokes, I didn't meet one person that was like, yeah, good. But that's what I got shown on my phone over and over again was crazy libs with weird haircuts being like, ha ha ha, he's dead, like demonic shit. And I'm like, well, that's being curated from my experience. I'm sure those people are out there, but I'm being shown like everyone that exists in rapid fire succession. Now, who wants me to, why? Why does somebody want me to believe that most left-leaning people are, feel this way about a guy getting shot?
I'll take a swag at it.
Go ahead.
Because the game for the powers that be is depopulation, right? They're pretty open about it. Well, it's going to be relatively difficult and messy to like depopulate the people with the guns, the right wingers, right? Yeah. We'll just use their terminology. So if I can get the right wingers so fucking fired up, and I create for them this boogeyman, this whole left purple hair thing is fucking entirely
the troons,
yeah. Like, no, you cannot chop your dick off and become a lady. Anybody that thought that,
you could try.
So what I can do if I'm an evil wizard, I can just keep dumping gas into this crazy leftist shit, right?
Yeah.
Get it to a fucking fever pitch. I can bring in 1 million or 20 million fucking illegals, man. And then eventually I let the leash off of all these fucking
right wing dudes.
I tell them,
shoot their idol.
There is nothing more dangerous than a religious motherfucker who thinks that he's in the right to kill you.
Yeah.
Nothing more dangerous, man. Call it a suicide bomber, call it what you will. Like somebody that believes God has mandated that you go down.
That's powerful, yeah.
So as soon as we tell the right that it's okay, this is just me pontificating, internet.
If they make it legal, you mean? Like,
dude, if you make it
deputize some,
or if you set the conditions, call it like
mutual combat.
Yeah, mutual combat. Like Antifa shows up again at the local police.
Yeah, all they would have to say is like, guys, we are observing mutual combat laws in America, and dudes would be like, Roger that.
Yeah, like there's already people I know joking about like letters of marque and things like that. Like,
not me. For the record, I'm determined to stay out of any gunfights until I die a natural death. Now,
yes, I've been.
Don't fucking try me, but like.
Well, I've been in quite a few, and I bought a farm for a reason.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. Like,
there may be some guns here, but I'm not trying to use them on anybody anywhere.
What do you guys think about what's going on in the UK
with which one thing specifically?
The big protest, the big march they just had, like it was over 1 million people, and the whole conversation. Like I seen like Russell Brand and a couple other people talk about that guy who just got out of jail who was speaking out. I forgot his name, but he was on PBD also.
Tommy Robinson.
Tommy Robinson. He organized that, and Elon spoke there, and the whole thing now where they basically they're losing their culture to Islamic culture.
Yeah, the rape gangs and all this stuff. Then Keir Starmer, whatever his name is, just passed some law that they have to use digital ID in order to earn a paycheck.
Talking about that, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that's what we were talking about. Yeah, I mean UK, dude. Just think about like Europe right now. America, we're infants. We're barely less than 300 years into existing, right, or whatever the hell we are. But like, look at these places in Europe that are. I mean, hey, like, do we want to live in a world that doesn't have any distinct culture? Like, there's people that desperately want that. Like, a lot of the people that are in power would like nothing more. So they're happy to watch. Dude, that's what the world wars did, though. We think it's bad right now. The world looked fundamentally different. They completely changed the face of the world with those wars. They pulverized every beautiful, not everyone, there's several left standing, but basically the world used to be populated with these beautiful structures and cultures, and those wars purposely marched them into a grinder. That's what I believe. That's the most evil shit. Like like the stuff we're experiencing now, I think is like a shadow of that evil.
So I work with a VR company, or I'm working with a VR company, and when you look at their advertisements, their people look like they came straight out of like a Brave New World or like 1984. They're wearing like they're kind of boys and girls, like they're effeminate dudes, but they're wearing like gray smocks,
so like Star Trek looking clothes or something.
And they have like the box on their fucking face.
Oh my God.
Like, and so you're looking at it and you're like, oh, okay. So, you've seen the fashion shows where it's like dude and chick, but they're both wearing
androgynous stuff or something.
Yeah, like a gray square.
Yeah.
Like that's what Aren's talking about. Like that's what the powers that be want. For anybody left alive, they don't
Oh yeah.
They don't care if you're a boy or a girl. They want you in a fucking gray smock with this box on your fucking face, man. Like,
well, plus they want to get rid of Islam too. They're gonna sacrifice those refugees as if they're soldiers in this thing. They desperately. You can't have a. I mean, if they hate Christianity, they definitely hate Islam. But they've been using Islam for their evil ends for a while.
You think they're using that to actually try to reel in Christianity because they want to really destroy Christianity? But they got to use a tool, and that's the tool they're using?
I think they're going to want to use Christianity to defeat Islam before they defeat Christianity. Like they're going to stick to this. We're in this together, and you know who I mean by they. They're going to stick to this. We're in this together until Islam's no longer a problem, and then it's here we go with the end times.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
I mean, that's what I'm betting on.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
Yeah, I think, at the end of the day, I tell people, man, this shit will drive you crazy if you really just let it absorb you. So sometimes I tell like how you guys are on the farm, I'll do 2 or 3 days where I'll try to limit like even putting a video out just so I can regroup my mind and kind of like just be thankful, because I think about like you guys, the places you've been, right? Think about the craziest places you've been, or the most destitute, or the loneliest. And then when you look at that and look where you are now, and then look what they're trying to project, it doesn't even compare. So you're like, wow, where I'm at now, for me to even buy into what they're trying to sell, I know it's some bullshit. So like you said, I don't have to buy into it.
Yeah, all of us here in the same boat. There was a point in your life where if someone would have shown you what you have now, you wouldn't have been able to believe it. You'd have been like, no way. You know what I mean? You were down so low that you couldn't see really, except past like your immediate, That's what I think a lot. I do think about that all the time. I'm like, dude, it's still good. Compared to, like you said, compared to a lot of places, man, we've been to a lot of places where people just don't have shit and they have no prospect of getting it. At least here, you could be down bad, but you can claw your way out and back up. There's places where, there's nothing to claw through or up to.
Well, and like how you talk about like they feed off our energy, bro. In 2008, when I got out, I guess the economy was doing really bad. People were losing their homes. It was like they had all this, I think SARS and all some other shit. I didn't know anything. I had a BlackBerry, didn't know how to work, scared to death. You know what I mean? I was sleeping on a bunk bed with like 15 other dudes in a room. I barely had maybe $100. and I would recycle that $100 and just try to make it last. And I was just like so happy to be free, bro. And I didn't realize that shit was crumbling around the world, shit, the economy and all this. So to say that we're now to be so invested in it, if need be, all you got to do is think about like, well, dude, when you disconnect, the power, whatever you thought they had, it doesn't exist because things are still happening. I didn't even have a job there, but somehow I was able to still have food and make it. I mean, so mentally, they trick us into thinking we need to plug into all this shit. We don't need to have all these devices and this bullshit, man. We don't need to feed into all these algorithms.
Well, they did a real good job of kind of showing us the benefit up front of all of it. Like it just, everybody kind of just slid into it. And before you know it, it's the whole world, and you could see along the way, like we always talked about it. People talked about it every step. Like, man, these things are getting pretty crazy, but we still, every time, we go for that next. And I've been bad. Like in my life, I was like a dork about technology. Like, oh, VR headset, I want one of those. And I like this kind of cool. I got this new phone does this. And for a while, I was one of those guys for sure. Like needed the cool gadgets. But
staying limber and able to move is good though. Like you move in Arizona, right? Like that's a lot of people just don't have the courage to leave the spot that they're in. They're like, no, I'm just going to keep shaking my fist at Gavin Newsom and this California thing is going to get better. It's like, bro, like, I've used this analogy before, man. Like if I'm in a gunfight and the enemy is peppering my position with machine gun fire, I can be all kinds of upset about it, or I can move.
Yeah.
I don't have to.
I just got comfortable here.
This is a really nice spot. It's in the shade,
Just real quick.
You don't have to stay there and just get shot up,
That's a great point, man. That's a great point because, like you said, that's one of the freedoms you have if you're able to move and you're healthy and you have a couple dollars in your pocket, bro. You can leave. Yeah. You don't have to stay and put up with the bullshit. I mean, these people that are yelling and doing this, man. Look, leave that apartment complex or that neighborhood. Go somewhere else. Just leave the area.
And, I think I heard somebody say this, I forgot what it was, but people are afraid of two things. They're afraid of losing what they have, and they're afraid of losing what they thought they were going to get, which is like a trip, right? So like the moving thing, like I moved to a farm in the middle of nowhere, right? Like I had a beautiful house next to the beach, and now I live in a cabin that I'm rebuilding like square foot by square foot. Like there's no HVAC in here. So I intentionally, my standard of living, if you want to call it that, I intentionally lowered it in order to gain more. So it's like for these people that are stuck
How hard was it for you to do that?
Dude, after COVID made it pretty easy. Like
COVID, that was my catalyst too. But like, I ain't gonna lie, like you said, it was when you don't know, did you know anybody there?
No.
See, me either. I didn't really know nobody here. What you just said, it's hard for people to let go of something you've been comfortable with for years, man.
Yeah. Like it's a big country. There's so many beautiful places left still, and these people are just stuck in these Californias, these New Yorks, like sometimes it's like, hey, you got to cut it off. Sometimes you might have to move.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think you get caught up with your identity being a certain area or a certain place. Like you said, living at the beach. And when I was out there, I mean, the crazy thing is most of the people fighting for, Cal, this and that, they don't even, you work so much or you never leave the house. So how do you even enjoy California? You don't go to the beach. You don't go to the mountains. You don't go to the ocean. So you're fighting and arguing over something. You have no teeth in the game. Just leave.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, your quality of life will probably drastically improve. I mean, your cost of life will drastically improve at the very least.
As long as you can keep working.
Yeah, if you can find work. That's the other bad part.
Yeah, I think that's the most challenging for a lot of people is when you do go somewhere else and then you try to acclimate into another tribe. Like Arizona's been hard because it's not like, for me, it's trying to figure out it's like you see a group of guys at the cafeteria when you're in school and you're like, man, what table do I go sit at? You're trying to figure out, you got your tray and you're like, or you're in a mess hall. You're trying to see like, okay, if I sit here, can I get into this groove? And that's the hard part. And I think that's intimidating for a lot of people to start fresh like that. It's easier, when you're a kid, but it's, even then, going to a new school or, just hitting up a new spot, man, it's like trying to fit in, a lot of people are scared to death of that.
I guess the flip side of that is, are you willing to just ride California into the dirt? Like, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, or, you know, choose whichever state is going hard communist, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, between there and Oregon, bro. Crazy, man. Crazy shit.
Yeah, we got a buddy in Oregon. I'm doing my best to try to convince him to move this direction. I'm like, bro, I'll give you any amount of land you want. Just get out here, man.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, man, what else is going on? I think we covered a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground. That was good.
Yeah, we covered a lot of stuff.
It's crazy. Shit's crazy these days.
Yeah.
I guess for people, if we're kind of closing it out, my part and shot for people would be like, hey, don't do anything that's going to get you taken out of the game for some dumb shit, man. Don't attach yourself to some silly ass cause. Yeah. You know, don't carry your cell phone to some giant rally that's going to get you in prison. You know, just put some distance between yourself and what the show is showing you. You know, like let it. I mean, whatever is going to happen is going to happen. You know, you don't have to get sucked into its gravity well. You don't have to let it affect you. You know, like because whatever the beast is going to do, the beast is going to do. You know, keep your distance from it. Don't attach as little of your personal essence to it as possible. You know, yeah, that's what I got.
That's good advice. I can't say it better. That's good. I agree with that.
Well, I know it's difficult. You know.
Yeah, easier said than done, but you got to do it.
No, that's well said, bro. I agree with you 100%. Man, I really appreciate you guys getting on the channel, bro.
Dude, thanks for having us. Hell yeah.
And the dialogue was
fun.
Great. I miss you guys. Hopefully get out there and visit soon or catch you guys somewhere in the middle.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, man. Stay in touch and thank you, man. You want to send to plug your guys' social media stuff?
Yeah, man. Stranger by the Hour on YouTube, Stranger by the Hour on Patreon. We're rebuilding our YouTube slowly. Stranger by the Hour on Twitter, right? Or is it no?
Yeah, it is.
Stranger by the Hour on Twitter. It's Stranger_pod on Instagram. I'll probably just change it to Stranger by the Hour. Probably stop being lazy. But if you look for it, you'll find it. That's the big ones. Instagram, Twitter, YouTube.
That's it.
Yeah, and the Patreon is where we hang everything since we originally got booted off YouTube back in the day. Word.
And I'll put all the links in the description too. You guys, I get the links.
Okay, sweet.
So I appreciate it. All right, you
Thanks,
guys.
Man.
Big
all right, dude.
6 getting down, Stranger by the Hour.
Hell yeah. All right, man.
Thanks, everyone.
Later.